You're a new player, a returning player, or possibly been playing other campaigns in Enlisted, and you stumble upon this video asking yourself, should I go and grind down the United States campaign tree for the Invasion of Normandy? Now, you probably watched Saving Private Ryan, some World War II flicks here and there, seeing the American GIs go and dominate the Germans during the Invasion of Normandy. Probably watched some Band of Brothers here and there as well, seeing iconic weapons like the M1 Garand, the M1 Carbine, some P-47s flying around here and there, sometimes a Sherman tank popping up. And you want to relive this experience during Enlisted. But you want to know, is it really worth it? Is it really worth grinding, putting hours and time, days, even a month or so to go and grind and unlock the United States campaign tech tree? You decide to go on YouTube and go and search for the United States campaign review, overview, try to see if there's any content creator out there that's kind of covered it. And you stumble upon the best YouTuber that covers Enlisted on YouTube, and that is Bungle. So, without further ado, let's dive into it. So, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Bungle, and today we are going over the United States campaign tech tree overview. Now, if you're unfamiliar with Enlisted, first time watching, maybe a new player, basically how it works is as you play matches, you get XP. As you get XP, you unlock campaign levels. Campaign levels is basically your tech tree. As you go and progress through the game, as you go and unlock new campaign levels, you get new squads, new equipment, new gear. Kind of the most important thing to take away from this right now is as you go and progress through the tech tree, you primarily get new equipment, new gear, and this definitely enhances your gameplay, and sometimes some of the equipment can be worth it, and some of it can't be worth it. But in today's video, we're going to be going over the United States campaign tech tree for the Invasion of Normandy. And boy, do we have a bunch. We start off with level 2 all the way to level 29. So we have quite a grind in front of us. And as we progress through each level, I'm going to go and tell you kind of the highlights and kind of the negatives of each thing that we unlock. Trying to give you an unbiased review so you can see what you're getting into. Or maybe if you're starting off right now and you're kind of a little disgruntled, don't worry, it gets better. And kind of how campaigns work typically in Enlisted is usually there's kind of bonuses or kind of meta styles on how these campaigns play. For example, if you go and play Germany for the Invasion of Normandy, starting off, they have better equipment and better gear, but as you progress, the U.S. actually gets better equipment and better gear. So if you're a U.S. player and you're kind of getting a little frustrated with the Puma spam and everything like that, don't worry, it gets a lot better, and you'll see why as we go through this video. Now, starting off, with level 2, you get the M5A1 Stuart. Now, there's been tons of videos or tons of events done on the M5A1 Stuart. Pretty much, there's event vehicles that they give out through Twitch drops. Twitch drops or enlisted events. And enlisted events can include the Operation Battle Summer when they release the M5A1 Rhino. Basically, the difference between these two vehicles is that they're level 5, ready to go out of the box. So level 5, they're fully upgraded. They're not going to be as slow as a regular stock tech tree M5A1 Stuart. So keep that in mind as you go and start off. Now, basically the M5A1 Stuart, it's a light tank, it has a 37mm cannon, quick firing. HE is not that strong against infantry. The AP is decent, but it will struggle a little against Pumas because the Pumas has trolley armor. Good luck with Panzer 3s and Panzer 4s unless you get them on the side shot. But basically, to play the M5A1 effectively, you want to move around, use your maneuverability, try to harass enemy tanks, kind of be a recon element, moving out there, harassing the enemy. And then as you go and do that, you get XP, get bonuses, and that will help you unlock the tech tree as you move on. Now, as you progress, moving on to level 3, the 60th Engineer Combat Battalion, the 35th Infantry Division, basically an Engineer Squad level 1. Level 1 Engineer Squad is kind of limited in what it can do. It can build spawn points, which is kind of critical for an Engineer Squad, but it can also go and build an anti-tank gun, but it won't be able to build machine gun nests and everything like that you see in later tier Engineer Squads. Another thing this class gets to now is the Lee-Enfield No.4 Mk I rifle. This bolt-action rifle is pretty good. It's a lot better than the standard Springfield that you get, and the Springfield iron sights are ridiculous. So the Lee-Enfield, basically, this is a good one-shot, two-shot weapon. As long as you get used to the sight picture and everything, this can definitely help you off as you're starting off and grinding. Definitely not the best rifle out there, of course, right? But since you're starting off in the campaign, this is definitely going to be a step up over the Springfield, and is actually pretty decent in my opinion. Now, moving on. You get the first fighter aircraft in the game as a P-38G1. The P-38G1 does come with M8 rockets, and those rockets aren't really that powerful unless you're kind of aiming precisely at tanks and everything like that. The P-38G1, I mean, there's nothing really to write home about this aircraft. It's just basically your standard dogfighter aircraft that's primarily used for combat air patrol. So if you see any enemy attackers like BF-110s or enemy bombers, you want to go and take those out. Unfortunately, right now, there really isn't that big of a XP gain or anything for playing well for a fighter aircraft, which is a shame. There definitely should be some kind of modifier for being the best fighter aircraft or providing shooting down aircraft and everything like that, since close air support is really a big kind of problem right now in Enlisted. But for whatever reason, there really isn't any reward system. So primarily, this is a fighter slot. You can have up to 2 fighters on your team when you're fighting. So in case you're trying to fly an attacker and the attacker slot's limited to 1, you want to fly into another fighter, you can use this to ground pound and go and dogfight, but it's going to be better at dogfighting than it is ground pounding. The M8 rockets, you got to be really precise and really close to objective. They don't really have a good area of effect. Now, moving on. On level 5, you get the M1 Carbine, M1 Carbine. This is pretty much going to be your workhorse. This weapon is great. It's a great platform. This is probably going to be in every single trooper, engineer. Engineers and troopers can have this weapon. And basically, it's just your workhorse, right? Any squad you're working on, engineer, flamethrower, flame trooper, assault, you're always going to have troopers with them. And troopers definitely are going to be your workhorse with just being adaptable to any situation with demo packs and everything like that. But having the M1 Carbine is definitely going to go and help you in the long run, with its capabilities of having a really good close quarters combat with its fire rate, and it can also do long range combat. Now, of course, it's definitely not its strongest point, but it has a capability of adjusting to any situation. So basically, it's a jack of all trades, master of none. Definitely a great weapon, great pickup. Now, moving on. Level 6, you get the M1 Flamethrower. Now, the M1 Flamethrower, just the issue with the flamethrower weapons in general, this one has a really short jet stream range of like 18 meters. So keep that in mind. It's going to be short range. You're going to have to be really close to your opponents to get the effect of it. Definitely a kind of a jank class. And what I mean by jank is that, it's not really useful. It's only good in very specific situations. And that's only like if you're trying to assault a bunker and there's a bunch of Germans in there. Like, that's your best bet. You're definitely not going to be running across the fields of Normandy trying to catch people with a flamethrower. And that's, pretty much what you want to use a flamethrower class for, is just for close quarters, congested areas where you can run in there and blast people with your flamethrower. So definitely a jank class. Don't expect this to be meta. Don't get frustrated when you're getting killed by it too. Just when you're trying to kill someone, because sometimes the flamethrower doesn't really do any damage to enemy players, and sometimes a bush gets in the way and stops the whole entire jet flame. So just keep that in mind. It's kind of frustrating to use, and it's kind of janky. And they kind of use it for events or daily tasks where it gets so many kills with a flamethrower. So that's pretty much where you're going to be using it. Unless you really like the flamethrower and all that, just keep that in mind. Now, moving on. Level 7. Level 7 is when you get the first artillery squad. And pretty much this is the 90th Infantry Division, 305th Field Signal Battalion. Basically, the highlight on this is 1, you get an artillery class, 2, you get the M1 Garand. The M1 Garand can be used in any trooper class and engineer class as well, so keep that in mind. What's the difference between the M1 Garand and the M1 Carbine? Basically, the M1 Garand is a very, long-range weapon, great at doing long-range combat. Just keep in mind with the clip, it's got 8 rounds, and then it has to eject. So it's not like the M1 Carbine where you can kind of just reload here and there. The M1 Garand has a clip magazine design, so 8 rounds, and then it pops out, and then you load your new round. So definitely kind of janky with it. I don't like the M1 Garand just because it's very good at long-range combat, but close quarters, and then with its clip size and everything, I just feel like the M1 Carbine just does everything better than that. Second, with artillery, the radio operator class did get nerfed to the point where it's kind of useless now. And one of the big issues is if you have an ally calling in artillery, you can't call in artillery until like the airspace is cleared, and then you can call in another artillery strike. So it's very frustrating dealing with that. If you're a new player, or if you played in CBT and everything, you kind of understand the frustration where it was never like that. So basically, they nerfed the class to oblivion. You can't even use it. So just keep a highlight of this. When you get level 7, you're going to get the M1 Garand. And, pretty much if you like the way it plays, you like the way it fires and everything, and you want to outfit your engineers, your troopers with it as much as possible, and radio operators, then go for it. But personally, take away from here, the radio operator class did get nerfed. It's not really that useful anymore. And it's just really situational based, unless, like I said, most players are going to be running around with artillery. So good luck trying to wait to call that in. Now, moving on, level 8. Level 8, you get the Bomber class, the 30th Infantry Division, 119th Infantry Regiment. Basically, the highlight here is you get the PIAT and the Bomber class. Now, the Bomber class basically is your anti-tank class. This can be used in any other, like, for example, if you have the Machine Gunner class, this can be outfitted with a bomber. And basically, the Bomber is the anti-tank class is there to take out vehicles. The PIAT is decent at taking out vehicles. Now, this is pretty much the highlight is you want to get it on the sides of the Panzer IIIs and Panzer IVs. When you're facing PIAT, Pumas, you can hit it in the front and everything like that and take it out. But the main highlight really is if you see a Panzer III or Panzer IV driving around, try to aim at the sides, lower, like right above their tracks, and hit them right there, and you'll hit their ammo rack and detonate them. Of course, you can always use a demo pack as well, but the highlight here is the anti-tank class that can kind of go and check Panzer IIIs and Panzer IVs, and you can also go take out Pumas relatively easily. Next, moving on. You get at level 9 the M3A1 Submachine Gun. Basically, this is an upgraded version of the grease gun. You get the default grease gun, the M3 Submachine Gun, but this is a better version of it. The M3A1, the grease gun in general, is pretty much a very good, decent submachine gun. It's really going to last you pretty much up to the tech tree, up till you get to the end of the tech tree. And it could arguably be said it's better than the Thompson just because of its decent fire rate, decent firepower. It has good stability. It's just an all-round jack-of-all-trades submachine gun. It's definitely not, the greatest in the game, but it's not the worst, and it's pretty decent, and it's good for new players. So definitely recommend going and picking this up and outfitting your assault squads with it. Now keep in mind, it's for assault squads, so this is for any assault trooper that can use this. Can't be used by engineer, sniper, troop, regular trooper. Can't be used by anything else but the assault class. Now, moving on. Level 10, you get the M8 HMC. Now, the M8 HMC, in my opinion, is just very janky, where it's just a howitzer and a light tank that can penetrate Panzer IIIs and Panzer IVs on the sides and everything like that. It's just very janky, and the problem with it is that it's a howitzer, so it's going to have a low velocity. Second of all, it has an open turret, so you're susceptible to artillery, to aircraft strafing you and everything like that. It's just it's a big con when you're playing it, just because it gets really frustrating that you can be easily taken out by anything that tries to go and penetrate your turret. And it doesn't really have a lot of armor. It can get penetrated pretty easily. It's the only big threat on it is the 75mm howitzer cannon. So when you're playing this, just don't be frustrated when you're getting killed pretty easily by enemy tanks and everything like that, just because you have a Stuart's armor. You basically have the Stuart's armor, and you're just driving around with a 75mm cannon. Of course, this can last you to when you get to the Shermans and everything like that, and it is an upgrade over the Stuart, but for now, like I said, there's always other options. You can always look at, getting the M24 Chaffee, which is a great alternative to grinding all the way up to the M4 Sherman. But in my opinion, like I said, it's definitely an upgrade from the Stuart. Definitely not the best of the best, but it's doable for now. Now moving on, level 11, you get your first gunner class. This is basically your machine gunner class. 20th Infantry Division, 107th Machine Gun Battalion, also known as the Bloody Bucket. And that's the PA symbol over there for the PA Guard. You also get the Bren Mk II Submachine Gun with this class. All right, so pretty much a gunner class is going to be primarily your major assault squad or, attacker squad, because you can fit some attacker or assaulters in there, but you can also fit engineers and troopers. Basically, if you fit engineers in the squad, you can build resupply points for you to go and resupply from when you're using your machine gun. The Bren Mk II is a pretty decent submachine gun. Okay, there's always going to be better alternatives, which we'll go down the road, but for starting off and grinding up this campaign level, the Bren Mk II definitely, when it gets going, it can cause many problems to the German teams. So definitely, as you see, as we're progressing here, the U.S. is getting better and better equipment. And like I said, the Bren Mk II is not a bad machine gun. It's just, you'll see as we progress that you get way better stuff. And you notice too that there's some perks here and there that come up for the squads. You can out-tailor your squads to the best of your ability. Now moving on to level 12. Level 12, we get the P-51C-10. This is a fighter aircraft. Now keep in mind, like I said, you can have up to 2 fighters in the game, and this is the Fighter Pilot 2 class. Really, what's the difference between Pilot 1 and Pilot 2? Really nothing at the moment in the game. Basically, the P-51C-10 is kind of just, it's bad. Like, it just struggles. It can't shoot down aircraft as well. It has 4 50 cals, which still struggle to penetrate BF-110s and shoot them out of the sky. Very slow fire rate. It has 2 100-pound bombs, which really don't do anything unless you're really precise with it. It's just overall a really bad aircraft, and it's just one of those, wow, I just unlocked a very not well-performing aircraft. And it's sad because the P-51 definitely was kind of a workhorse for the U.S., but at this time, right now in the game, maybe we'll see with future updates, they'll add other variants of P-51s that can carry better ordnance. But for right now, P-51C, I would recommend passing and just keeping with the P-38. And also, the premium version of this plays the same way. Definitely don't recommend going and buying the premium P-51 right now because pretty much plays the same way as this. Utter disappointment. Don't recommend doing it at all. Now, moving on, level 13. You get the first ever in the campaign for the United States, the 79th Infantry Division, 304th Trench Mortar Battery. Basically, this is a mortar class. Mortar class is good at providing indirect fire. This, again, just like the artillery class, got nerfed. Back in CBT, this thing was very powerful. You could set up range find and then have an engineer in your squad to go and reload your mortar and just keep raining fire down on your opponents. Now, the problem is it got nerfed, and when things get nerfed in this game, they get very nerfed to the point where you can't even use them really effectively anymore. And basically, when you're trying to play for progression and stuff like that, getting mortar kills really doesn't do much, whereas running around gunning down people and stuff does. And, playing the mortar is kind of janky. You got to sit in the back, you got to range find, you got to see where the enemy's coming from and pick up kills that way. And for the purposes of this game right now, it's just definitely not as strong as it was. They nerfed the refueling, the reloading capabilities, so you can't just sit there in an engineer spawn point and just endlessly reload your ammo. You can only reload up to 2 or 3 times, and by that point, you're pretty much useless. So this is just a hard pass for me, unless you really like the mortar gameplay and everything like that. Just when you're trying to play for progression, trying to level up and everything like that, and have fun, dynamic gameplay, it doesn't do as well as it used to do. And if you play back in closed beta tests, you can definitely attest that, yeah, this class got nerfed hard. Now moving on, level 14, an upgrade to the sniper class. You get the Springfield M1903A4, and you get the 82nd Airborne 507th Parachute Infantry Regiment. Basically a sniper class. What's the difference between Sniper 1 and Sniper 2? Really not much. They just change everything around that looks the same. You basically get the same unlocks, more snipers, you can get an engineer here and there, stuff like that. It's just the exact same lineup. They just changed the way it was oriented. So there really isn't a big difference between Sniper 1 and Sniper 2. Just keep in mind that the bolt action rifle is actually very useful. I feel that the Springfield M1903A4 is a step up, and it's definitely easier to use, aim, fire, and the reload rate is really good too. So I like the sight picture, I like the capabilities. It can one shot here and there, and it's a fun rifle to use. So definitely recommend using the sniper class if you like the sniper gameplay and locking it and putting it in your lineup. Now moving on, this is when the U.S. campaign starts ramping up a little bit. And at level 15, you get the M4A2. The M4A2 is probably one of my most favorite lineups to use in Enlisted, especially if you have premium. You can take up to 3 vehicles in combat. 2 of those can be tanks, And with that, if you have the M4A2, and then later when we talk about the overpowered jumbo, boy, is it a lot of fun. The M4A2, in my opinion, is just as good, if not better than the jumbo with its capabilities. It definitely has good sloped armor, can definitely bounce shots frontally from Panzer IIIs, Panzer IVs here and there, but sometimes the Panzer IV can penetrate you at the machine gun port, and Pumas will struggle against you. The HA capabilities on this tank is amazing. You can go and take out infantry here and there, left and right. You can one-shot Pumas with your HE, and it's just a great tank. It's fun to play. This is when the U.S. starts ramping up, and, you know, if you want to grind, you want to campaign, you know, get the campaign levels unlocked faster and everything like that, you know, once you unlock this, start working on upgrading it as well, because when you upgrade it, the turn traverses faster, the vehicle moves faster, the engine gets upgraded and stuff like that, and those little changes actually makes the tank a lot better, a lot more playable, and a lot more fun. Definitely recommend picking this vehicle up, definitely putting it in your lineups and using it. It will definitely help you when you're going and grinding down the campaign. Next, moving on, level 16. Level 16, here we get a shotgun, all right? Shotguns can be used in your assault classes. Shotguns is a great example of another jank class in the game. Shotguns are the same thing like flamethrowers, the mortars, even the radio operators, where it's included for niche purposes if you really like playing it. But the shotgun is a shame because you can't switch your shells to be like slug rounds and everything like that. It's only good at very close quarters. You've played Normandy, the maps are very large, they're very ranged combat, and the shotgun is not effective at all unless you're in close quarters, just like a flamethrower. So definitely don't be surprised when you unlock this and you're like, oh wow, this is garbage. It's just, that's the way the meta is right now in the game. Shotgun is very janky. Not a lot of people use it. I wish they would add more different shell types like frag rounds and slug rounds and everything like that, because that can make the shotgun more powerful. But right now in the game, it's not that useful, and it's just a hard pass for me. Moving on, level 17. Level 17, you get the Trooper 2 class, 9th Infantry Division, 39th Infantry Regiment with an M1 Carbine with a grenade thrower. Just like I said, with a lot of other things, they're very janky. The grenade thrower, grenade weapon, how it works is you press U on your keyboard. There's going to be an animation of you loading the grenade launcher on top of your weapon, and then you fire it, and then to take it off, you have to press U again. It's not like a modern day weapon like an M4, where you have it like an underslug rail system, whatever, so you can have the grenade launcher there. No, this is like World War II era, so you don't do that. You put it on top of your barrel, and it takes that out of the fight. So, the capabilities of killing people with it isn't as strong as it could be. It's very, the grenades is kind of hit or miss on if it kills people or not. And the Trooper 2 class, the big difference is you just have more troops you can add to your squad. So there's that as well. Just another inclusion in the game where it's like, oh, that's cool. But like I said, only if you're really into that, go for it. Now moving on, level 18, this is when we start getting kind of our OP stuff. And this is the A20G 25, and this is your first attacker slot. Attackers basically are going to be your close air support, bombing, and everything like that. And the A20G is a bomber. It drops in 4 times 500-pound bombs, which has caused havoc on the enemy. Definitely one of the biggest complaints on the Enlisted forum is the A20G and the bomb spam. So when you get this unlocked, you basically fly into a congested area, drop your bombs, and watch that kill feed go up. Definitely a great aircraft, great addition to the game. Definitely will help you in addition to vehicles in grinding the tech tree. And it's just fun, just dropping bombs and causing problems. Now moving on, level 19. You get the Browning M1903A4. Now basically the BAR is a great weapon. You went and bought the machine gun bundle for the Enlisted for the Normandy campaign. You will see that, yeah, the Browning M19, the Browning or the BAR in general is a great weapon. It's a great weapon platform. It can be used by pressing H for semi-auto, fully auto. Semi-auto basically is just a better rifle. It can one-shot a lot of the enemies, two-shot them. Very good at long-range capabilities. It's just overall a great weapon platform. So you can use this in your machine gunner class, take it out, and just, yeah, it just does great. Great weapon, great platform, very fun to use. It's just a great weapon. Highly, highly recommend picking it up. Now level 20. the best tank in the game, the overpowered jumbo, the M4A3E2. This is your Tanker 2 class. Tanker 2 class, I would say, is a heavy class, but unfortunately for the Germans, when they get their Tanker 2 class, they get a Panzer IV-H, which is a medium tank. But here, the jumbo is a heavy tank, and it is just dominates. The HE capabilities on this tank is amazing. It can just wipe out a bunch of squads here and there. AP on it is decent, but the Panzer III and Panzer IV armor can be trolly, but you can penetrate that and take it out as well. It's a great tank, and when the enemy team sees it, it's a big fear factor just because it really is a hard counter. It really isn't a hard counter to it, besides bombing or sending squads to suicide and blow up on it. So when you get this tank unlocked, if you put this alongside your M4 Sherman, this is just a great lineup. It will start expediting your grind very, very quickly and get you on top of your team. Now, moving on, level 21, you get the Sniper M1 Garand. Now, the Sniper M1 Garand, in my opinion, I just don't like it at all. It's just the sight picture is weird on it. And, the Sniper 3 class, it gets the same exact lineup as a Sniper 2, Sniper 1 with the upgrades. Really, my opinion, I don't really see it worth picking up. Worth even just bothering. If you like playing the Springfield, you like sniping with a bolt action, Springfield I feel is a lot better. Sniper M1 Garand, it's just the M1 Garand with a scope on it. I didn't like playing it, wasn't a fan of it, but if you like the gameplay, you like the way it shoots and everything like that, then there you go. There's something you can look forward to. Now, level 22, moving on, you get the Sten Mk II Submachine Gun. This submachine gun is probably, I don't even know why it was included. It's just very janky. It's like a pea shooter in my opinion compared to the grease gun. The grease gun is more accurate, does more damage, and the Sten is it just tickles opponents. I don't even know why they included it, considering it's a British weapon, but they added it, and they added the 101st Airborne Division. So if you like the 101st and you really want to go and upgrade that squad, well, there you go. But yeah, the Sten Mk II is not a good weapon. I don't like it at all. There's way better alternatives to it. Now moving on, level 23, you get the M2 Carbine with the 11th Infantry Regiment, 5th Infantry Division. Basically, the M2 Carbine can be a fully auto M1 Carbine. The sight picture on it is weird, and the fully auto capabilities makes it uncontrollable when you're firing it. So, like I said, you want to use the M1 Carbine just because it's a stable platform and it's a lot better weapon in my opinion. Engineer 2 class, however, you can build machine gun nests, you can build anti-tanks, you can build more anti-aircraft positions, and you get better capabilities than you would as an Engineer 1 class. So there's level 24, you get the P38J15. P38J15 can be put in your Fighter 1 class. Definitely a big upgrade from the regular P38G, just from the aspect of it turns very well. It's a great fighter, and the M8 rockets on it are actually increased, in my opinion, from doing damage. Definitely can do a lot of good bombing runs with it, and you can take opponents out. It turns like a dime. It's very, very good. It's a great aircraft for doing combat air patrol. So if you're into that and you really like doing combat air patrol and that's up your alley, well, the P38J15 is for you. Definitely a great aircraft. Would highly recommend picking it up. Now, moving on, level 25, you unlock the Browning M1918A2. This is a Gunner 2 class. And yes, you can use the Browning 1918A2 in your Gunner 1 class. So you can have two Gunner classes, Gunner 1 and Gunner 2, in combat and use them. And basically, like I said, same upgrade, tech tree, pass, and everything like that. It's just the difference is you get a better weapon now. And the M19A2 is just, it's an upgrade. Like I said, the BAR is a great weapon, but the fact that you can use a semi-auto, or it's called a slow auto fire rate, which if you need to in situations go fully auto, you can, but you won't burn through the magazine. The problem with the BAR is it has 20 rounds, and when you go auto on it, you can definitely go and burn through your rounds very quickly. But with a semi-auto function, it goes really slow, or just really slow fire rate, but it's great in situations, and I can highly, highly recommend picking up this weapon and using this class. Moving on, level 26, you get the Lanchester. Basically, this is a British copy of the MP28 with no fire selector and simplified sights. For my gameplay, from my experience in playing with it, it's pretty much way better than the Thompson, better than the grease gun, and better than the Sten gun just because it's a very stable platform. It has a good fire rate, has good damage. It's definitely just a really good submachine gun to use, which is surprising since it's basically a copy of the MP28. So if you use this, you like using assault squads and everything like that, make sure you put that weapon in your assault squads and equip them with that. Level 27, you unlock the P47. This is your Attacker Pilot 2 class. So this is definitely a different class from the Attacker 1. So if you have an A20G pilot or A20G squadron, you can't just switch it over to P47. P47 is its own thing. Now with the P47, you get H-far rockets and you also get a 500-pound bomb. So the H-far rockets, you get 10 of these. These things can cause problems to the Germans. You know, you can easily get 20 plus kills and a lot of bomb runs. It's just a great aircraft. It can also dogfight, so it's a multi-role. So you could definitely go and shoot down BF-110s and GU-1888s that are bombing. Great aircraft, great weapon. Definitely recommend picking up as you go and progress through the U.S. campaign. Now, level 28, you get the M2 Flamethrower, and it's a Flame Trooper 2. So the M2 Flamethrower can be used with the Flame Trooper 1 class. So there you go. You can take 2 of those out into combat. And the Flame Jet length increased to 32 meters. Definitely a big upgrade, and the DPS is higher on it. But the problem with the Flamethrower class is a lot of times you will shoot opponents, and sometimes just like an obstacle gets in the way, like, you know, a bench or something or grass, and it just stops the jet stream instead of going right through it, which is really weird. And at the same time too, you can also hit someone with your flamethrower and it doesn't register, or it just doesn't, for whatever reason, damage them as much as it would. It's really weird. Sometimes you can one-tap someone with a flamethrower, and then other times it's just like you're tickling them. So like I said, it's jank. When you're doing events or daily events though, definitely the better flamethrower to use, just because it's higher DPS and it's a better jet stream. So keep that in mind. The Flamethrower 2 class also can be outfitted with assault squad members and engineers and troopers, so you can make more lethality in that squad, especially if you like using the Flamethrower. Now lastly, level 29. This is the last campaign level to unlock, and you get the submachine gun, the M1A1 Thompson. The Thompson, in my opinion, is just very disappointing. It has a crazy recoil. It's just not that good at DPS, and I just feel like it's kind of a disappointment. You would feel that the Thompson, since it's an iconic weapon from especially World War II movies, Saving Private Ryan and everything, would be a good weapon to use, but in reality, it's really not. It's just the damage isn't strong. It's, you know, a lot of the clips here I show, I can't even get the results I get for like the Lanchester or the BAR. So definitely a disappointing class, disappointing weapon to unlock, and definitely don't let this be like, I want to get the Thompson, you know, this is what I want to get. Like, be prepared to be disappointed when you unlock it. So, but this concludes the campaign overview. This is definitely just giving you a quick rundown on what's going on with the campaign tree as you go and progress and unlock it and Enlisted. The U.S. campaign tree in general is pretty fun. I really enjoy it. It definitely has the U.S. have a lot better equipment and gear than German teams, and increases the United States win rate, especially in playing games. Also, since the U.S. also has a high win rate in Enlisted right now for the Invasion of Normandy Campaign, your progression is going to be quicker, because as you win, you also get a bonus for winning too, in addition to your XP total. So keep that in mind as well. Definitely recommend going down the United States campaign tree for the highlights, like the Jumbo, like the P47, some of the Flamethrower squads, and just, it's overall fun. I really enjoyed it, and I hope you enjoy it too. Other than that, if you've reached this point of video, new viewer, new subscriber, I hope today is the day that I earned your subscription. Other than that, I hope you all have a great day. Take care.